Welcome to Community Connections with Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. I'm just one of your humble hosts, Sean Boyle, and with me is
Ashley Ma.
And welcome to the half-hour radio program that airs every Sunday on 104.5 The Flame at 10 a.m. every Sunday, as I mentioned, but also because of wonderful partnership with WLX TV, St. Lucie Public School Channel, we are actually on all the cable networks, but the best way you can find us if you're listening to the radio program is go to YouTube, look up WLX TV St. Lucie. You can see all of our programs. And by the way, our programs on that YouTube channel go back to when you were like 12 years old.
Well, funny, but not accurate. But they do go back a long time.
They go back. So you can see how this show has evolved over the years. But go check out all their programming. They're a wonderful partner, and we're grateful to be in the studio with you. Now, if you're a first-time listener, don't turn the channel or the station. What we do at the Children's Services Council, what we do with this program is talk about resources and things that are available for children and families, and/or in this episode, ways to help you get through these wonderful holidays that bring both joy and a little bit of stress. Maybe a little bit might not be the right word, but stress.
Depends on the day.
But why do we have a show? Why do Ashley and I join you every week on 104.5 The Flame at 10 a.m. or even on WLX? It's because at the Children's Services Council, we have 5 priorities that we work on every single day. Those priorities are 1, making sure every baby's a healthy baby. 2, stopping child abuse before it happens by building strong families. 3, keeping kids off the streets. 4, keeping them in school. And 5, keeping them off drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors. And we do that by developing, funding, and creating systems of care in those 5 priorities that are available to all families in St. Lucie County.
That is right. And there's a quiz later for those of you who have been listening for a long time. Our guest, we're going to quiz our guest.
On the elevator ride up here said she knew all the priorities.
There's a quiz coming. But
yes.
So Sean talked about those priority areas, and we work with, this year, 51 programs that are providing those services to our community. This show is obviously a great way to learn about them, but we have a lot of different ways that you can learn about the programs as well. Sean brought props today, so we'll start with this one. This is our Family Guide to Programs. It is a list of all the programs that we currently work with, along with their contact information and a brief description of what they do. Now, we learned from someone yesterday, you joked that it made my heart grow 10 sizes yesterday when someone who works out in the community told us that this is like his Bible. He uses this for all of his clients. He makes referrals to families from here. And we love hearing that because these programs are only as good as the service they provide. And if you guys don't know about them and don't use them, then, you know, what is the point of that? So the Family Guide is a great place to get that information. We also share a lot about the programs on our website at cscslc.org. On that website, you can also request for us to bring these family guides to you. So if you have a church or an office or a business where these might benefit some of your clients or your patrons, we can actually deliver copies of this family guide to you. You just need to fill out the form. It goes to our community engagement coordinator, John Caesar, and he will come bring you a stack of these for you to share.
I'll take it up a notch. If you request those, either myself, Ashley, or John will not only come and deliver, but if you'd like for us to talk to your team about these resources, or quite honestly, just to give you a state of the child in St. Lucie County, we have a fun way of doing that. It's just about as entertaining as this, so take that with a grain of salt. But not only can we deliver them, but we can also talk to your team about the importance of these resources. But there's another way to learn about all this stuff.
Oh, wait.
I don't know if you've heard of the Book of Face. It's a social media thing that's taking the world by storm. I think they often refer to it as Facebook, but we are actually on Facebook. We post nearly every single day, for better or for worse, but we talk about on our Facebook page not only resources, but we share when we're out and about in the community. We share success stories.
Which has been often lately.
Yes, we have been out and about quite regularly. But if you look up Children's Services Council, make sure you put in the St. Lucie. There are other Children's Services Councils, but not surprisingly, we're very fond of the St. Lucie County one. So make sure you follow us on Facebook. And if you dare to be brave, you can even follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We hear there's people doing that.
A small amount. Some. I do, we have shared a lot on our Facebook page. I feel like this month there's so many events happening and there's lots of stuff going on. This thing, which I feel it's weird to talk about before it happens.
Yeah, I know we're dating this show, but we're recording before the concert. It happens in 3 days. That's why we're all nervous with excitement.
Yeah.
But you're going to see it afterwards, and we're just going to assume it was awesome, and we're going to thank you for attending.
It obviously was great and wonderful, and our 10th year, so we're super excited about that. I think I've shared on Facebook several times this week the dedication that our community has given us for that show specifically over 10 years has been amazing. And so a big thank you to our community who continues to show up when we do things like this.
The real question is, because we're pre-recording, is will we be able to say afterwards that this was the show that Ashley sang at?
We
It is
will
our
not.
10th anniversary.
I can confidently say no, we will not.
So this is a terrible segue, but if you're feeling stressed about having to perhaps deal with singing at the stage of the sunrise, we're going to have a great guest that we're going to talk to. But I'm going to remind everybody that there's a simple 3-digit number that you can call for not only resources and if you need help, paying your electric bill, or if you need help finding a resource for your child, obviously you can come to us, but you can also call 211. It's a very simple number. You literally dial 211. But not only do they have an information referral and they help with newborns and the Help Me Grow program to do ages and stages questionnaire, but most importantly is there's always somebody there to talk to. So if any time, during these holidays, and we're going to dive deep into this, but if at any time you need somebody to talk to, let's say your whole house is asleep, it's 2 in the morning and you are just, you're struggling with some stuff, you can call 211 and they have a live person that can speak with you and help you get through whatever you need to get through.
And in addition to that, I always like to point out that they are sort of multifaceted now, and you can also text 211. So if you're not comfortable picking up the phone, I know sometimes that's kind of a hesitation for folks. You can also text your zip code to 898-211 and receive the same service, the same conversation that you'll have with a talented, we've actually talked to some of the folks that answer the phone there. They are certified crisis counselors, so they can help you with whatever it is that you might need.
And I think it's important. It's a sign of the times, right? I don't know how many times, if you compare how many phone calls we get in the office versus how many Facebook messages or emails that we get,
Yep.
There's a level of comfort sometimes, and it's a little bit of a barrier, like it's a safety barrier, privacy, to be able to text or email.
Yep.
So it's great that they've accommodated that. Again, I wrote it down because I'm going to make sure my kids know. 898-211, and then put in the body of the text your zip code, and they'll help you.
Yep.
So we have a great guest, because this was kind of a segue.
I know. I feel like maybe you set this up for me. Or is it my therapy session? Are you trying to?
Yeah, actually, I know that, times are tough, and I thought, let's work in a session here live on TV to help you. But no, I think before, as we introduce her, she was very excited that she knew our 5 priorities. And so I'm never against somebody saying our 5 priorities or repeating that. 'Cause if I don't say it at least 5 times a day, it's not a complete day for me.
That's true.
So this will be the 3rd time I've heard it today.
Okay, so proper introduction. We are really excited. I think for a long time, I know you and I for a long time talked about Tykes and Teens finally moving up this way.
Yes.
Started in Martin County and traditionally stayed in Martin County, but we finally pulled the strings up and got them up here. They do a couple programs with us that are just phenomenal, and we love being able to have them here in our community. We're really lucky today. We've got Andrea Greenlee with us, who is the Director of School-Based Services for them at Tykes and Teens. And we're going to talk about holiday stress, but apparently we're going to put you under some first. And
look at her.
priorities.
Look, we're not putting her under stress. She confidently in the elevator said, "I've watched a past show," which we were like, we got to view her. But then she's like, "And I know your 5 priorities."
Okay,
Yes.
so go.
All
Let's
right.
do 'em.
Number 1, making sure every baby is a healthy baby by building strong families. Stopping child abuse before it happens by building strong families.
There you go.
She auto-corrected. I like that.
A little negative there. Keeping kids off the streets, keeping kids in school, and keeping kids from doing high-risk behaviors like drinking alcohol and drugs.
Surprised.
Yeah, if we weren't tethered to these chairs with the microphones, we'd give each other high fives, yes.
That is amazing. We appreciate that so much. And I think, I would imagine that in your role as the Director for School-Based Services that you see also an increase in stress this time of year. And not just because of the holidays, but I have a daughter in middle school for the first time this year. And I know from conversations with her friends, her teammates, end of course exams
Yes.
are taking a huge toll on them.
Yes.
And that, in addition to the holidays, and in addition to everything that's happening in everyone's home, COVID, I mean, there's just so much on everyone's plate right
Yes.
now. And so I'm sure that you guys are having those conversations in your office.
Yes.
And so I think we just kind of want to talk through maybe some of the non-traditional ways that stress might present itself in your children.
Yes, it's funny because I had a conversation with my daughter this weekend. She came home crying because she had seen on Instagram that friends of hers were going to a concert that she wasn't invited to. Of course, as any good mom, I
Also upset.
yes, I was upset. How can I solve this problem? So I immediately bought tickets to the same concert. But, you know, it's just coming at us from every angle, whether it's tests or Instagram. And so you're right. We need to be prepared and just kind of be proactive about how we're going to handle it. So.
And I know that, you know, we know firsthand from, you know, I have older kids because I'm old. I have a 21 and a 24-year-old, and they definitely are feeling the stress. My son just got back from college, and, you know.
He graduated.
He graduated, yes. And by the way, I'm going to brag here for a moment. I've been telling everyone that my son graduated with a 3.79. Oh no, he corrected me. His great GPA at Florida State was a 3.95.
Oh, wow.
And then he got but he's graduating with a 3.87 because he got a B plus at IRSC before he went up there. But anyway, so but the stress is real, and I think, you know, as families, you know, particularly the holidays, it's like this, you know. My wife and I talk about it. You're battling the weight of not only the stress, but the weight of expectations.
Expectation is the word. And so that's one of my first suggestions is lower those expectations. Realize that we're in a pandemic. Toys are stuck in cargo, planes and
Accurate.
boats. And it just may not be the Christmas that everyone gets exactly what they want. So be proactive, think about that. Maybe plan some adventures with your family instead of that material stuff. Because I think that gives us the opportunity to build more traditions that aren't so linked to material items. It gives us the control. So we got to take that control back.
Right. And I just remembered, before I digressed about my son, and I don't know why I do this, it's caffeine. We know it's a mental health crisis because we see it and feel it in our own families and our programs, but it's official. You brought paperwork that says that it's
from
official.
the U.S. Surgeon General who declared it a mental health crisis, especially for our youth. So as parents, being mindful of this pressure because of tests, because they want to go to concerts with their friends and they're not able to, and just kind of having conversation about that and problem solving. But yes, kids, 1 in 3 high school students and half female students reported persistent feelings of depression or hopelessness. So when you were mentioning the 211 and texting 211, what a wonderful resource, because I believe, you know, when you're in the place of thinking your life is not worth living, having that person to reach out to can be so very critical. So as a parent, being aware of that, having conversations about, you know, supporting them through the difficulty and the fun things that are in the future, I would suggest doing. So the U.S. Surgeon did put out a report. They have a lot of helpful things that family members can do. And teachers can do. So I think the message is really, it's in all of us to help this problem. So we all have a role and we all have something that we can offer to kind of turn this around.
And I think it's important too to recognize that not all kids are going to be able to tell you how they're feeling.
Yes.
And so your daughter was able to come and say, Mom, I'm upset because of this.
Right.
But my kids are a little bit younger, and my son won't come and tell you outwardly what he's upset about or what he's feeling. It comes out in this very disruptive behavior.
Right.
And I think sometimes I have to step back and think, he's not upset about this thing. He's not actually reacting to this thing. He's upset about a litany of things that happened, you know, hours ago.
Kind of build up.
Yeah. And so I think it's important to recognize that they're not always going to come out and tell you,
Exactly.
this is what's going on with me and I'm mad about
And they may not know.
Right, they may not know.
But the key is you're curious about it.
Yes.
And you know your child's behavior and you know their usual behavior. And so when they kind of give that that's a little unusual. You know, your ears perked up, you started being curious, and then you probably went to him and said, hey, you know, what's going on? This seems a little different. And that's important and critical, to have those conversations and be open. And that's one of the suggestions, is talk about your feelings. And as parents, we have to remember we are the best models for our children. So being aware of how we're handling the difficulty, we're teaching them how to handle difficulty. And I think parents forget that oftentimes, the ones that I see losing their mind in Walmart.
Well, and I think too, you know, we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace. Like, we're under an enormous amount of stress also. And I will admit, last week I had a little moment and I might have reacted poorly, but I went to him after and I said, Mommy is so sorry that she yelled.
Yes.
I'm so sorry that I got upset about that. That's not really what I was mad about. Your behavior was atrocious, but you know, we're gonna get over that. I'm sorry that I yelled at you. That's not how Mommy should handle things.
That's wonderful.
And so it's an effort. It's a lot.
Right, but that's another thing, like, accept imperfection. You're
Right.
not going to be perfect all the time. And really, as a parent, shooting for 80% of the time is a good average.
Oh, I love that goal.
Yeah.
But you modeled two important things. You noticed that you maybe handled it not the proper way, but then you went to him and said, you know, I'm really sorry. So, and saying sorry for things is a wonderful skill for kids to be learning, and something wonderful for you to be modeling too.
So I think another thing that happens a lot in the holidays, and my family, I purposely tried to get away from this because it was just so stressful. Is, you know, it's like the holidays, now we have to go see everybody. So everybody jump in the car, let's drive 2 hours to go visit this person, and then 3 hours to visit this person.
Yes,
and
all in one day.
Right, and these are generally, when you have kids, they're people that
You
they
don't
don't know
see often,
really that
right.
often, but they, you know, there's like this sense of intimacy because it's family usually,
Yes.
and these kids are like, who is this person grabbing me and all that? So how do you prepare kids for that?
Well, I think as a parent, setting boundaries, especially now, like realizing, well, let's look at your life and see how busy and crazy things are. And if you don't go see Aunt Mary on Christmas this year, that's okay. So maybe sitting down as a family to say, okay, like, this is our...
What's important
Right.
to us.
What do you think? And so setting those boundaries, you know, maybe you don't go to this party, maybe you just go to 2 parties or no parties.
Right.
Everything's acceptable. It's like, but whatever you decide as a family, and then sticking with it. So,
Yeah.
I do think that, for better or for worse, COVID maybe has given some of us a reason to scale back a little bit.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I mean, I have absolutely found us in our family saying, we're not going to do that thing.
Right.
Because that might be a little bit too much for us.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily an excuse, but we're culling. I think COVID really did make people recognize what was important to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And maybe there are new traditions that we can start. Maybe there are new things that the kids want to be able to do. My kids brought home, I think in a Chick-fil-A meal last week or something, they got little like conversation starter cards. And one of the questions that my son has asked me 11 times is, what is a tradition that you hope your kids continue in your family? And at first I had to really think about it, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know what that is. But it did start some good conversation with us about what the things that they enjoyed the most. And it's often not what I thought it would be.
And that's interesting, because all these, and that was another suggestion I was going to make, is to pay attention to those little moments, like the little moment with the conversation that you had. Because I think we're kind of trained to look for the big, amazing events. But oftentimes those kind of let us down. So if you notice the little moments during the day and really savor those, like the conversation you have with your son, that brings more joy than the big, gigantic events.
Did you ask that question of him?
I didn't, but he's asked me a couple of times, and I feel like I've answered differently every time, because, you know, it's in a different moment, a different thought. There was one question, and now I can't remember what it was. It's a great pack, so kudos to Chick-fil-A for putting that out there. Like, just a great opportunity to have those conversations. One of them was, what food reminds you of your favorite holiday? Like, what food is related to your favorite holiday?
Pumpkin spice latte for you?
No. I mean, very high at the list. But my family has a tradition at Thanksgiving where we eat a very non-traditional meal, and we have Spanish pork, black beans and yellow rice, and plantains. And no one does that on Thanksgiving except for very Spanish people. But that's one
good.
that's very important to me. And when I said that to him, he was like, "Oh, same." Like, so
Well, it's interesting because again, my kids are older, and I often ask, or not often, but frequently ask, like, what's your favorite Christmas moment? And I'm always thinking it's when they got the Xbox
Yeah, the
or whatever.
giant
And
thing.
it's not.
No.
It's always like, oh, remember that time, we woke up early and we had, biscuits or something before
Yes.
we opened presents, or, we always do a reindeer gift even when they're older, and it's always a toothbrush and deodorant. And they like that because, we always hide it somewhere, and,
Yeah.
they're still excited about deodorant
Yeah.
and toothpaste.
Yes, and that's a constant. So something in this time of unpredictability, to add those little moments of predictability adds that security and excitement, something to look forward to. So I think that's very smart.
I have found with my kids too that involving them in the conversation, which you said is super important, because they are told what to do all the time. So much.
Yeah.
And so being able to sit down and say, well, what do you want to have for Christmas dinner?
Right.
What would you like to eat that night? Is really impactful for
Yes,
them,
and it makes them
because
feel very powerful.
they feel like they're involved and that they're part of the decision. My oldest daughter loves to cook right now, so she just wants to be in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So it's, it's an easy way to kind of set the expectations, because you're involving them.
Right, and
in
not all the
that
pressure's on you to make the decision.
Phew.
So that's
So wait, what are you having for? Did you ask them? What are you having for dinner then?
We
Christmas dinner?
haven't decided.
Pizza.
We have way too many things
Chick-fil-A.
happening right now
say
before
no
dinner.
to some of those. Set your
Yeah,
boundaries.
well,
Yeah.
We have a lot of birthdays crammed into the end of the year,
You do.
which is, again, just all those challenges. But I really feel like having those conversations with them and saying, today it's Maya's birthday, and this is what we're going to do, and this is where we're going to be, and this is how long we're going to stay there, and having that conversation. But also, I've learned this with my husband, who's my largest child, saying, if those plans change, here's what we're going to do about it. Because it's hard sometimes when the expectation is this, and now suddenly it's this.
Right. So be flexible and not rigid, and have a plan B. Absolutely. And accept that imperfection, and laugh about it. Like, my favorite thing is just laughing about when things go crazy and haywire. But you may also ask your children about what's one tradition that you would like to add this year. Like maybe it's watching all the Grinch movies in one day, but giving them that power to create their own traditions that you can carry forth. And then they'll carry on with their kids.
I like that. So we've talked about how parents can cope and kind of strategize with their kids to make sure that they have a good holiday. Let's talk about the parents. What can parents do, both single parents and couples, to support and/or make sure that they maintain? Because a lot of times, you're so worried about, like, let's make sure it's great for the kids. Let's do this. Let's make sure, the grandparents are all taken care of. Sometimes you forget about, oh yeah, what
And
about
me?
me? Yeah,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right. My kids had a great Christmas. I'm exhausted and I'm ready for a
was
vacation.
terrible. Yes. So just, be thoughtful leading into that, and really maybe just set a goal. Like, my goal is to maintain peace with the other partner, and sometimes that may be a challenge.
Solid goal.
80%.
Yes, 80%. But, recognizing that it is tough, and give yourself some grace, and just forgive yourself for the issues that come up. It's really tough all year round, but when you add the expectations of the holidays onto it, it really becomes more challenging. So have a support person that you can go to and kind of, complain to or get feedback from is always a good idea too, whether that's your best friend or your mom or someone you can reach out to who'll be there for support. Because
You
it's
can call
needed.
me.
Thanks.
I'll text you.
I'm gonna. I think too, I have learned about myself that the thing that makes me feel the best, I love giving gifts.
Yes.
And so if I can find outside of my family and the expected gifts that are
Yes.
already set there, if I can find a way to give back to someone or some organization or something unexpected, that makes me feel good.
Yep.
And that's my goal for the holiday. I think I need to have some feel good moment.
Yeah.
And so I've learned about myself that I need one thing, and whatever that is, and it's often extravagant, depending on what's going on. But I need one thing. I need
one thing to look forward to
one
every
thing to
day.
look forward to.
Maybe it's
Yes.
eggnog at the end of the day. Maybe it's the Grinch movie. Maybe it's
Right.
making cookies with your kids. Or maybe it's just reading a book in your bed with the
Quietly.
door closed and no one coming to say, hey, Mom, for 15 or 20 minutes, you know. So finding something to look forward to every day is really good.
Yeah.
Keeping routines, like this is not the time to go off the rails with staying up late. You know, just have a structure to your day so that you have that expectation and the control that you do have over your life.
Yeah. So we've talked about a lot of tips, and I know I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about Tykes and Teens as a resource for our local families too. So I don't know how deep we want to go into. You guys do so many services, I feel like. But maybe just share the website and some simple information that folks can get, you know, if there is a struggle that maybe goes deeper than holiday stress.
Sure.
How families can get connected.
Yeah, so we're on the web, tykesandteens.org, all spelled out. We also have a book of Facebook page. And there are a number of resources on both of those websites. You can go to Mental Health Matters. We had a series that I think Laura talked about before for middle schoolers and building resilience in your kids. But you can always just call us too. We were in Martin County. We're not in the schools yet here in St. Lucie County, but we do have a number of other programs here. So reach out. We're easy. We'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. Just call me.
So tykesandteens.org, and then the phone number.
Oh, 772-220-3439.
And you know, you mentioned we have a couple programs. We actually have 3 programs.
We do.
with them. And we're very grateful
Boys and
to
Girls
all of
Club.
them. Yep,
Oh,
we have
Yes.
the Trust program, training our after-school providers on trauma-informed care.
Yep.
We have infant mental health,
Yep.
and then we have, I don't remember the name of it, but providing counseling embedded into our after-school programs.
Yep.
All partnerships with Tykes and Teens, and we're
Yep.
very grateful for your organization.
Yeah.
I said we pulled them up.
I know.
Well,
Are
I've
you
been
sure
here
you don't wanna
24
come?
years. So
Yes.
I was, when we were just Martin County,
know.
we were only staying in Martin County. So
Yes.
it's exciting to be able to share.
We're
everywhere
very
else.
grateful for it. And I know, you know, we talk to our after school programs a lot. The services that the counselors have been able to provide that are happening on site at those programs have been invaluable to the kids, to the staff, which is huge.
Yeah.
Just really wonderful partnerships, wonderful
That's
programs.
something I forgot. I wanted to mention teachers, how
Oh,
stressed
yes.
teachers are. We do
yes.
have a support group, a virtual support group for teachers that people can access online.
Via Teams, which is awesome.
Yes, yes. It's called Teams. So
Regardless of the county?
regardless of the county.
I'll let my wife know.
Yes, because it's really rough on them. It's
Yeah.
really rough on them. So I meant to plug that.
No, perfect. Thank you.
All right, we are at the end of our time. Thank you so much for
Yes,
coming on.
thank
Thank you
you.
for knowing our 5 priorities, but more importantly, thank
Gold
you
star.
for giving us great advice as we prep for the holidays. And we want to thank everybody for watching or listening, not only for this show, but for all year as we wind down the year. We're grateful for every viewer and or listen. And thank you so very much. Thank you, WLX TV, St. Lucie Public School Channel, particularly Craig, who produces and directs our show here. We also want to thank Larry and Alice Lee at 104.5 The Flame for having us on the radio program week after week. And again, thank you. And a reminder that it's our children, our community, our future. Have a great holiday. We'll see you in the new year because we're all in this together. We'll see you next time.